Up next, Authentically Detroit sits down with Danielle North, Dara, Klein, and Lawrence Hood to discuss education and a new partnership between Degree Forward and Detroit Academy of Arts and Sciences. But first, this week's hot takes come from Bridge Detroit. Detroit paid $32 million in legal settlements. How much more can the city afford? And right-to-work battle looms in Michigan. Businesses fear repeal by Democrats. Keep it locked. Authentically Detroit starts after these messages.
2021, the Stoudemire is a membership-based community recreation and wellness center centrally located on the east side of Detroit. Membership in the Stoudemire is available on a sliding scale for up to $20 per year or 20 hours of volunteer time. The Stoudemire offers art, dance, and fitness classes, community meetings and events, resource fairs, pop-up events, the Neighborhood Tech Hub, and more. Members who are residents of the east side have access to exclusive services in the Wellness Network. Join today and live well, play well, be well. Visit ecndetroit.org.
Bridge Detroit is your news and engagement platform that is telling the stories of Detroiters rooted by community priorities. Started in 2020 by Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Stephen Henderson, the newsroom has already established its footing as the go-to source for hyper-local perspectives that ask the hard questions, brings accountability, and searches out real solutions. It's free to become a member of this award-winning news organization. Visit bridgedetroit.com today to sign up to receive the news delivered right to your inbox. Bridge Detroit, by Detroiters, for Detroiters.
Hey, y'all, it's Orlando. We just want to let you know that the views and opinions expressed during this podcast episode are those of the co-hosts and guests and not their sponsoring institutions. Now, let's start the show. Hello, Detroit and the world. Welcome to another episode of Authentically Detroit, broadcasting live from the WDET studios. We are a content partner to bridgedetroit.com. I'm Orlando Bailey.
And I'm Donna Givens-Davidson.
We want to tell you thank you for listening in and supporting our efforts to build a platform of authentic voices for real people in the city of Detroit. We want you to like, rate, and subscribe to our podcast on all platforms. Today we have Danielle North from Degree Forward, plus Dara, Klein, and Lawrence Hood from Detroit Academy of Arts and Sciences, also known as DAAS, in the studio with us today. And the first question is the same as always. How is this blessed day finding each of you? Donna, how you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. It's my granddaughter's 5th birthday. Happy birthday, Luna. So excited for this birthday. We had a birthday party at another one of Danielle North's businesses, Kids Kingdom,
entrepreneur.
On Saturday. It was so great. And it's funny because her grandparents, her father's parents live in North Rosedale. Mm-hmm. And they said, how did you find this business in our neck of the woods? And I said, well, listen, you got to know the right people. And as it turns out, Terry's father is a pastor. And his and Danielle's employee that she had working there that day is a member of his church. So small world, beautiful things. I am so proud of my granddaughter because she has such a beautiful, loving spirit. And it just came out, you know, they say love will bring you together. And it really did keep all of us together. Family, friends, everybody celebrating her. I love children, and this was a great celebration. I want to thank Danielle for having such an outstanding business.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate your business and for you reaching out, because I had actually kind of shut the parties down because things have just been really hectic. And so when people realize you're doing something and reach out and say, hey, you know, you got to get that personal concierge experience where I directly kind of set up everything for you, open up the portal. I say, yes, sure, we'll have a party for you. So I'm really happy that you guys were able to share. And it actually reminded me of, I felt a lot of pride after I went up there and checked on things and I did a post and I was like, wow, like this is my business. It's been here for 6.5 years, still serving the community. So thank you for believing in us.
Oh, definitely.
I love it. I saw the video of Luna the kids singing the happy birthday song to her, and she blew out her candle, and the young people were hugging her. I was like, this is the best video ever. just a ball of sunshine. Yes, I love it. Dara, how are you?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Yeah?
I'm a little nervous.
Don't be
This is
nervous.
my first podcast.
Yay,
I'm
welcome.
excited to be here.
Yeah, we're popping that cork right on open. Lawrence, how are you?
I'm doing well. As I said a little earlier, I'm ready to rock the mic. Loving it.
Hey, you want to spit something for us right quick? Is that something you used to do?
Oh, no. Not on here.
Don't get too excited.
Don't get too excited. And Danielle, ECN, Warren Connor alum, serial entrepreneur, friend to me and Donna. How are you?
I am doing really well, and I feel really honored to be in the studio with the two of you. You guys are dynamic. You're amazing. I love watching what you're doing, and I'm like, here I am in the studio with you guys. It's like friends, but still fangirling at the same time because you guys are just, I'm serious. Like, it's amazing to be in company of really impressive and outstanding people who you actually get the opportunity to call friends. And you guys aren't some, high up in the sky kind of people looking down on you like, oh, I'll put you in my schedule, kind of thing. So it feels great. I'm happy to be here tonight. Thanks, guys.
Oh, man. We received that. Thank you, Danielle.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So how are you doing, Orlando?
I'm doing well. Today has been a day of, celebration and, a day of grief. I served surprisingly, as an honorary pallbearer for Marcia Sakwa, my first speech and theater teacher at the Detroit High School for the Fine and Performing Arts before it became the Detroit School of Arts. We had a longer name. And I owe so much to Miss Sakwa. I was telling Donna before we went live, she was, this Jewish woman who understood the context of where she was and who she was and decided to affirm her Black children in the most profound way possible. I was saying that she was the first teacher to put a James Baldwin work of art in my hand, right? She was the first teacher to have me read an Amiri Baraka revolutionary poem. I mean, I'm just so very grateful. And in addition to teaching me the technical aspects of pronouncing my words correctly, vocal variety, deepening my voice, making sure that I can be heard, right? She's a legend and has impacted thousands of students, and we felt that today. So it's
Sorry
a good
for
day.
your loss.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. But I'm doing all right, y'all.
Yeah.
I'm doing okay. And it's time for Hot Takes, where we run down some of the week's top headlines in the city of Detroit. For Hot Takes, Detroit paid $32 million in legal settlements. How much more can the city afford? So the city paid $32 million in the last fiscal year, largely to settle lawsuits over bus crashes and police misconduct, prompting warnings from some elected officials that other looming payouts could deal a significant financial blow to the city of Detroit. The vast majority, which is about 82% of the settled cases, involved the Detroit Department of Transportation. That's DDOT. We know it as DDOT. Often from buses crashing into people or private property. DDOT was involved in 409 of the 497 settlements that were paid. Though the Detroit Police Department had fewer cases settled, the payments were far more expensive. 50 lawsuits against DPD accounted for $22.3 million of that $32 million in settlement payouts, while DDOT settlements cost the city $8.6 million. Go to bridgedetroit.com to read this story by Malachi Barrett. You can see how some of those payouts happened from the police department. $9.95 million was paid to a person who was wrongfully imprisoned for 17 years for a murder he did not commit. $7.5 million went to this very familiar name. Y'all remember Devontae Sanford, whose murder conviction was dropped in 2016 at the request of Wayne County prosecutor Kim Worthy after finding misconduct by Detroit police tainted that case, as well as so many other cases. Donna, there's a lot here. What say you?
Well, there's a lot of concern by some people in city council, and the deputy corporation counsel, Chuck Ramey, said, listen, we can't afford this. Well, too often cities like Detroit, especially when it comes to police misconduct, just budget in lawsuits. It's the cost of doing business. It would be really nice if they looked at the lawsuits and said, what should we do differently? It's not just a matter of job training. It is a matter of police selection. It's a matter of accountability and really standing up to the unions. We look at the social costs. We look at the economic costs. We don't look at the cost to the people who were in prison for all of that time, 17 years. We look at it through self-interest. But the reality is we have a shared self-interest in justice. And so when you have more justice, you have fewer huge lawsuits. Certainly there's always going to be nuisance lawsuits. You can't make those go away, but you don't get $7.9 million, $9.5 million because of a nuisance. You get that because of a wrong. And then when you think about the cost of prosecuting people who are not guilty, defending your prosecution during an appeal, housing these people in a correctional institution, we really can't afford. We can't afford that. And so, unfortunately, what we do is we don't look at the police budget as a whole. We don't look at the way that we over-prosecute certain people for certain crimes. We don't look at the whole litany of things that you can go to prison for that really you shouldn't go to prison for them. Instead, we look at the money that's paid to compensate people who have been victimized by misconduct on the police department and actually the prosecutor's office. So I'm sorry about it. I'm a Detroiter. My taxes go to the city of Detroit, and I want the city of Detroit to reduce the cost of lawsuits by doing business better.
One of the things that was striking when we were working on this story is the amount of hurdles my reporters had to jump through to actually just get this information. Why is this information, number one, so hard to get, and why doesn't the city want us to have this information? And so we've had to file more than one Freedom of Information Act request to get these numbers so that we can do the math, right? We also, even as this story had been published, we still don't have the details of the settlement payouts from the past fiscal years before just last year, right? They wouldn't release that to us, and we have to file and pay for another Freedom of Information Act request to get that information. The Washington Post says this all of the time. I think it's their tagline: democracy dies in darkness. Yep. Listen, y'all, we have to do a better job of being transparent about where we are fiscally, and some of the misconduct and some of the accidents. City Council member Mary Waters and Letitia Johnson both, respectively talked about training so that we can prevent more accidents. And the police chief has now he's developed what they are calling a risk management updates. He's assigned each officer a risk management profile that is tracking like their behavior and how much of a risk that they can become to the department and to the city. I think that's good, but I think that in addition to that, this is information that everybody deserves to know, and we had to pay to get it.
So, for example, real quickly, Detroit Will Breathe. $1 million payout for Detroit Will Breathe, completely avoidable. If you had not arrested all of those people and violated their constitutional rights and choked them, and if the city had not defended those officers, if city council had not allocated $200,000 to try to appeal a court decision, maybe you wouldn't be paying $1 million. And this is just one example. So you can have all of these bureaucratic procedural things, but when justice rules, then the democracy doesn't die in the darkness. We have a Detroit Police Commission. Where does the Detroit Police Commission stand in terms of holding these officers accountable, and also in terms of changing the culture and practices of this police force? When it comes to the buses, do we have old equipment? Do we have enough drivers? Are people driving when they're too tired to drive? What are we doing to ensure safe transportation? Because job training won't help in a bus with broken brakes. And I know I've read a lot of things about the poor condition of the bus equipment. Are we actually budgeting for this?
I want to make a point about the police commission, and the city of Detroit is mandated by charter to have that commission, right? And folks run for those seats and are elected publicly. But I think that the police commission can use some reform because it is an open process and people can put money behind candidates. What we see is administration officials putting resources and backing behind candidates that look out for their own self-interest. And sometimes that self-interest is not interested in giving data to abridgedetroit.com for us to be able to report on it. And so we have people on the commission with allegiances, right, that doesn't need to be there. We have former police officers. Who are the civilians? Who's being appointed by whom, or who's being backed by whom? Let's really take a look at what's happening in these police commission meetings and who these people actually are, because it's supposed to provide a check for the Detroit Police Department. And what I am seeing and what I have been seeing is more of a rubber stamp than that check.
Didn't the Charter Revision Commission propose changes to the police commission
They did.
that would have improved the oversight and the transparency of these things? And remember when the governor and everybody rejected, they said it would cost the city too much money?
They said it was illegal.
Yeah, and you
Because
guys,
it would cost money.
Go ahead, Danielle.
you both have made salient points. The one that I wanted to uplift first is Donna sharing, the city having a budget, just saying this is the cost of doing business, which is really actually going against their whole purpose, because now you're saying, oh, this is going to cost too much money to do this, but you've clearly budgeted to pay for lawsuits, things that could potentially be avoidable. It's really interesting when you look at the disparity between the number of lawsuits for the busing, DDOT, but then that not being even a third of the cost. For the lawsuits. And so there's something at play here. You make another good point. Couldn't someone just do an audit? Couldn't someone just say, hey, where are we going wrong here, so that you could potentially save this money? And the other point I wanted to bring up was uplifting that Bridge went through the trouble. Like you said, you had to uncover all of this information. You went through the trouble to make sure the public had this information, because like Donna said, these are tax dollars being paid essentially to, cover these lawsuits that could essentially be avoidable. In some cases, maybe, you're not going to get rid of all of it. So, I had no idea that they were spending this much in lawsuits. So
the data shows that 304 settlements involve DDOT vehicle crashes with other drivers or pedestrians, while 43 involve people being injured while boarding or riding buses. There were 23 cases settled with the Detroit Police Department over constitutional rights violations, and 38 cases involved other kinds of city vehicles hitting private cars or pedestrians. What else makes up that $32 million, y'all? It is this. The Department of Public Works had 16 settlements totaling $616,000. The Detroit Fire Department and General Services Department each had 6 settlements totaling $134,000 and $383,000 respectively. Now, Detroit is a city that is self-insured, and so our risk management fund is required to maintain a balance of $20 million. What we do not know right now is what is the health of that fund given all of this. So more to come. We're going to keep asking questions, and we're going to keep sending FOIAs,
even though they don't want to give it to you.
Even though they really don't want to give it to us.
But I want to raise up what Danielle said. We are so fortunate to have Bridge Detroit. Bridge Detroit has really changed the news and changed the game in our community by bringing the kind of news that is relevant to the people who live here and answering the questions that we have, sometimes before we even know we have them.
The journalism.
All right, y'all, we're out of time. If you have topics that you want discussed on Authentically Detroit, you can hit us up on our socials at Authentically Detroit on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or you can email us at authenticallydetroit@gmail.com. We'll be right back.
Founded in 2021, the Stoudemire is a membership-based community recreation and wellness center centrally located on the east side of Detroit. Membership in the Stoudemire is available on a sliding scale for up to $20 per year or 20 hours of volunteer time. The Stoudemire offers art, dance, and fitness classes, community meetings and events, resource fairs, pop-up events, the neighborhood tech hub, and more. Members who are residents of the east side have access to exclusive services in the Wellness Network. Join today and live well, play well, be well. Visit ecndetroit.org.
Have you always dreamed of being on the airwaves? Well, the Detroit Eastside Engaged Podcast Network, or DEEP for short, is here to make that dream a reality. Located inside the Stoudemire, the DEEP Network offers studio space and production staff to help get your podcast idea off the ground. Doesn't take a whole lot of work to get started. Just visit the Authentically Detroit page at ecn-detroit.org or call Sarah at 313-948-0344.
All right, welcome back to Authentically Detroit. We want to get this last hot take in. Right to work battle looms in Michigan businesses fear repeal by Democrats. So this is also in Bridge, Detroit, and in Bridge, Michigan. Michigan business groups are weary of Democrats' calls to repeal right to work laws when they take charge in Lansing early next year, saying the state instead should focus on economic policies that attract jobs. Right to work, which was approved by Republicans in 2012, allows workers to opt out of paying dues in union-represented jobs, but still receive benefits. Business leaders from Michigan, the Michigan Chamber of Commerce, and chamber leaders from the state's two largest cities, Detroit and Grand Rapids, all urge caution. But Democrats who are backed heavily by unions, including the Michigan Education Association and the UAW, say the move prioritizes workers and labor rights. We only got a few minutes for this. Donna, what say you?
I just say if I wanted Republican policies, I would have voted for a Republican. So the reality is that we get in office and the first thing they do is caution us to be more like them. And I say, without getting into detail about right to work, I'm not interested in their perspective. I'm interested in really figuring out what is the justice perspective and what is the justice agenda for the Democratic Party. Danielle, you had some thoughts on this.
I did. I mean, I think that that's a very interesting perspective to have as someone who's recently had to lobby, in particular for policies and programs that I believe in. It's a very interesting balancing act now when you have to learn what is happening with the inner workings and learning how to play with Republicans and play with Democrats and knowing what that means, because we have just been working through a couple of policy issues with the Republican-led Senate, and that meant us trying to get some bipartisan agreement between the governor and the Republican Party for some of the things that we push for Degree Forward. And so for me, it becomes less black and white now, where I am a Democrat, where I did vote for Governor Whitmer, and these Republican folks who are in office, I didn't vote for them, but now you have to know how to play nicely in the sandbox with them. So this changing of the tide, even being a Democrat, does mean now you're playing a different ball game.
Well, we've been playing nicely with them for how many years? Because they've been in power. We've had to every single time adjust our agenda to fit the Republican agenda,
right.
Take things off the table. One of the most amazing things that we don't talk about often enough is all of this money that has not been allocated in Lansing that came from the infrastructure bill and from the Inflation Reduction Act that the Republican legislature refused to spend, and it's going to be spent now. So when I look at just basic things like you can't get a road bill passed or you can't pay for schools in the same way you want to do it. Yeah, we've got to adjust our politics, but they're not in charge. And they're going to have to figure out how to not be in charge and how to play with Democrats.
I agree.
And let me, my only pushback to the opposition, if the Democrats do decide to take this up, is, this would eliminate a business-friendly economy where businesses feel comfortable investing in cities in the state of Michigan to, that spurs, economic growth. And my question and my answer to that is, what is the opposite of a business-friendly economy, right? Is it, you know what I mean? Like, why are we sacrificing the health and well-being of people and workers to say that we have been able to spur economic growth? Yeah, we're building facilities and we're building these manufacturing facilities, but people in there are not making a living wage, or turnover is super high, right? And so, go ahead.
I'm sorry, go on.
And so my question is, does right to work or the repeal of right to work have to come at the expense of something? Can we figure out how to hold both of these tensions together and figure out the best way forward? Because we do want business investment, but we want equitable business investment. We do want new businesses, but we don't want them to come in and bust up unions, because if unions have to defend and unionize workers who are not opting to pay into the union, right? How are they mounting organizing campaigns? How are they paying for, lawyers and, representation, all of that?
If Michigan gives more subsidy to businesses than just about any state in the nation. If subsidizing businesses is not business friendly, please stop, okay? Because nobody stopped. I mean, we're still subsidizing businesses. The Democratic governor and the Democratic legislature, I'm sure, is going to continue doing that. The reality is that every time you start saying, let's put in place environmental protections, they talk about jobs. Every time you say, let's put in place workers' rights, people talk about jobs as though we can't have a just economy And I'm just wondering, who is our government working for? Is it working to address the needs of businesses? Is it by the business, for the business, and with the business? Or is it by the people, for the people, and with the people? If it's with the people, then we have to look at the people as actually being more important than the businesses that we're trying to attract.
And that's what should inform the policies. But I would really wonder, I haven't read the article yet, but do we know if there was a substantial change? Because I remember when Right to Work first went into place, did a lot of people begin to opt out in substantial percentages? What?
So the article tracks that it has been some wage growth, but it has not kept up with the pace of inflation, right? The article also tracks that, given different time periods and different kinds of economies and worries that are on people's mind, that it hasn't been as effective as the Republicans wanted it to be and touted in 2012. When we talk about wages, I mean let's just talk about the FCA plan on the east side. And I know we're over time, but the FCA plan came in and promised 5,000 jobs. Most of those jobs already went to people who were employed with FCA, and they promised a living wage. And we're talking about a living wage being, $15 an hour. What is that? Almost a little over $30,000. $31,000 a year. And for a resident living in the city of Detroit and experiencing the inflation that we're all experiencing right now, that ain't no money, right? And so we get to tout.
It sounds good.
It sounds good, but when we really get into the nitty gritty of it, there's much to be desired.
And the reality is that only in 2011, 18% of the workforce in Michigan was unionized. And now something like 14% is unionized. So you've had a 4% drop off. Right to Work does not impact all employers. It impacts employers with unions, saying that if you want to be protected by the union, you have to pay in. It doesn't impact people who don't have unions at all. Right. So I think that we also have to look at specific information. And then, like Orlando said, looking at what's happening within the unions and how unions are not necessarily able to even protect employee health because of some of the weakening of union regulations. I just think it's a long conversation. There's a need for us to have some dialogue, but I'm not interested in that dialogue being guided by businesses anymore. I think we've got to let people shine.
All right, Charity Dean, we're calling you. Let's have this conversation. You're listening to Authentically Detroit, and this week we once again have a full house. Danielle North from Degree Forward, plus Dara Klein and Lawrence Hood from DAAS are joining us to discuss their new partnership offering community members an affordable and flexible way to earn a college degree. For those of you who aren't familiar, DAAS is a kindergarten through 8th grade educational community located in the heart of downtown Detroit. DAAS was founded in 1997 by the Right Reverend Jim Holly, Dr. Jim Holly, who held a desire and vision to create an innovative educational center that met the needs of the children of Detroit and its surrounding communities. Currently, DAAS is operating under the authorization of Oakland University. Degree Forward is a nonprofit organization located in Detroit that provides coaching and wraparound support to local students enrolled in online programs. They offer direct support starting at enrollment through academics and career preparedness, in-person study space located in downtown Detroit, and special access to project-based curriculums. Danielle, Dara, Lawrence, so excited to be able to talk to y'all.
Yes.
Thank you for having us. It's very exciting.
We're so excited to be here.
The conversation is already lit.
It's already lit.
It's already lit.
So I'm interested from DAAS perspective. What does this mean? You used to have a high school. Now you go up to 8th grade, and you have a partnership with Degree Forward. Can you explain how this works for your school?
Yes, we're so excited to have this partnership with Degree Forward. We did have a high school. Our high school did close, and so now we're serving K through 8 children. And all of our scholars are, excited about being back into the building. And as we bring our scholars back into the building, we were saying, how do we get our families back into the building as well? And we think about all the trauma that has gone on, everything that has transpired during these last few years. And we're really looking for different ways to not only excite people about education and being in the building, but also bring the families along, because they've also been traumatized. They've also dealt with different things. And we want to make sure that we're supporting the trajectory of all of our families, not only at DAAS, but within our community.
Lawrence, tell us about your role at DAAS.
So my role is Chief Academic Officer, meaning I support all of the schools and all of the principals and our academics and our instruction across the board.
All right. Dara Klein.
Hello.
Welcome.
I'm very excited to be here.
Tell us about your role at the school.
My role is new to DAAS this year. I'm the Talent Development and Recruitment Specialist. And so this year at DAAS, I've been working on all things staffing in collaboration with an awesome team, but working on recruitment, so making sure we're bringing in the best people, and then also focusing and really honing in on retention. So how are we making sure that DAAS is a place not only for our students and families, but for our staff, that they want to stay and continue to grow professionally.
Okay, I love it. Danielle North, the serial entrepreneur. Tell us about Degree Forward. This is a long time coming, so I'm really excited for our people to be able to hear this from you.
Absolutely. Thank you. So we are a nonprofit that is passionately pursuing higher college completion rates for working professionals and adults. And so our governor has put in place a goal of 60% of the residents of the state of Michigan receiving a certificate, post-secondary certificate, or a degree by 2030. And so our program is really in line with that initiative, and that if we are going to move the needle on having more graduates, college graduates in the state of Michigan, more people who have jobs that are above the ALIS standard. And so, and really that ALIS standard, when we talk about $15 an hour, we're talking about more than that. We're talking about a livable wage. And then how is that defined? By family to family, essentially, in many cases, and really having the autonomy and ability to not necessarily name your price, but have the degree and the credentials that allow you to apply for the positions and put you in line, to even compete for these types of roles. And so I believe, as a college graduate, first generation college graduate, I wouldn't be where I am today without a degree. And so how do we bring that opportunity to more people who are now adults, the same folks who were high school students at one point and who may have enrolled or who were struggling through trying to get through college? They're now adults, 10, 20 years, in some cases 30 years down the line. The folks are still saying, now I've gotten as far as I can go in my career, I still need this degree. That degree is still the ticket, right? There's a lot of different narratives out here, and I being one of them, an entrepreneur, but even the level of which I'm able to achieve as an entrepreneur, I wouldn't be able to do that without my degree, because I've been able to have positions and jobs and opportunities that have funded my other initiatives because I have a degree. So we're bringing a flexible, affordable, achievable pathway for adults to now realize that dream.
I was just listening to this person was on CNN about a week ago, and he was talking about the way men are falling behind women in terms of getting degrees. And that's true, right? But one of the reasons women are more likely to get degrees is because the jobs women are concentrated in don't pay living wages without degrees.
That's right.
Women are not primarily in construction, in plumbing. Women are not primarily electricians. And so when you look at a woman's worth on the job market without a degree, it's very different. Do you find that you have more women interested in this?
Absolutely. We certainly have more women, and also more women who are parents who are in it. We do have men, but again, about 75% of our students are women.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that when people say you don't need a degree, the audience they're talking to is not women.
That's right.
And there are some women who cross over in traditionally men careers.
It is an important nuance.
Stop for a second. Stop talking. Stop talking and let that breathe a little bit. That is a really, really important nuance.
That's right, Donna.
That doesn't occur to everybody, Donna. I know I know you're brilliant and you think about this stuff all the time, but the way that you just named that,
so true.
People need to just take that in. And
when you talk about the barrier mitigating support that we provide in terms of childcare, these things you're really talking about a woman again, right? Why does a woman need that kind of support in order to achieve this goal or achieve this dream?
I want to ask you about how the partnership with DAAS came about, because when I think about Degree Forward, and I heard that DAAS is, a kindergarten through 8th grade, right? I'm thinking about how you're recruiting folks to this, right? So employees at DAAS and maybe parents of some of the students and community members. What does the recruitment process look like? How did DAAS and Degree Forward come together? And what are some of the the current numbers in the program? How's it going? And how did we get to Southern New Hampshire University to offer this alternative for a degree?
I'll let you guys start first because what we were doing and what you were doing obviously was a happy marriage. But talk about why this is important for you guys in the history of DAAS right now.
Yeah. So do you want to take this first? Okay. So we really started crossing paths with Danielle early in the school year. Lawrence and I were prepping for thinking about ways that we can really grow our own. So the state of Michigan in this year's state budget has allocated a huge investment in schools and districts investing in their own staff to really close this huge gap in a teacher shortage. And so in brainstorming thinking about ways that we can address this, we were trying to really get to the root of the issue and thinking a lot about equity and accessibility to becoming a teacher. And one of the foundational requirements in order to even enroll in an alternative certification program that's certified in the state of Michigan is having a bachelor's degree. Now, there are individuals who want to become teachers, but don't have, because of many different reasons, right? It's been inaccessible to obtain that bachelor's degree. And so we were connected with Danielle. Actually, Mr. Hood was reconnected with Danielle. To hear about the amazing and exciting work that she was doing. And so as we started learning more about Degree Forward, we realized, wow, this is something that we want to expose to our entire school community. We need to expose this to our staff who maybe don't have a degree yet. We need to expose this to our families and making sure that this amazing program is that we're amplifying the accessibility and this opportunity.
I want to talk about the project-based degree curriculum. I have a good friend who years ago, 20, 30 years ago, graduated from Southern New Hampshire University as a non-traditional college student and was able to go there during certain periods. I was not online at that time, and is an extremely successful professional right now. So I've seen it work. I've seen professionals really develop using this curriculum. But can you talk about how that's different than a traditional curriculum?
Sure, and I'll talk about it in line with why this would make a lot of sense for the community that they're serving and hand it off to Lawrence. So this project-based curriculum is similar to a traditional program in that one credit in a traditional program is similar to one project in our program. So 60 projects get you an AA, 120 projects gets you a BA. It would be credits in a traditional program. And so the projects are real life, real world experience. This is no fluffy stuff where it's just kind of like, fill out this paragraph. No, you have very thought-provoking scenarios that have been developed. This program is actually approved by the U.S. Department of Education. Southern New Hampshire University really cares. They have a community impact department that they dedicated to serving programs like this across the nation. We are one of over a dozen such programs. There's a program in Boston called Duet. There are also programs in California and in Austin, in Texas. And so there are programs all over the nation. So this isn't new. And what they saw in Boston was that they were able to close the white and black achievement gap. Their 2-year college completion rates are 55%. And here in Michigan, I'm not going to rattle that number off because this isn't about us competing or trying to say we're better than another group, because in the course of probably 4 or 5 years, we'll serve 500 students, but success is our goal. So we won't serve thousands of students like other institutions do. And we know that this is a specialized program that's more of a one-to-one, very high touch, which is why we can have better results. So within this project-based format, you get an actual coach. And this is not aspirational only. They're sending inspirational messages, but they are actually sitting down with you line by line. Here's the scenario. Here's what they're requiring. In this section, you have to answer these 3 questions. In the next section, you have to answer these 3 questions. Here's the rubric. Here's the checklist. There's no aha, gotcha moments. And we operate in a submit, revise, repeat cycle. So you cannot fail. You cannot get an F. You are going to get the opportunity to keep working on this until you master it. Now, there is a certain type of student and person, as we are learning after being in place for a year, who this model works for, like someone that you talked about. We have our first graduate. Woo woo!
That's amazing.
We celebrated our first graduate already.
Let's put a pin in that. We want to talk about. We want to talk more about project-based learning, and then we want to hear about
and give
this
it to Lawrence.
graduate.
And you want to talk about the partnership. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Lawrence.
No problem. More with Danielle, Dara, and Lawrence when we come back.
Founded in 2021, the Stoudemire is a membership-based community recreation and wellness center centrally located on the east side of Detroit. Membership in the Stoudemire is available on a sliding scale for up to $20 per year or 20 hours of volunteer time. The Stoudemire offers art, dance, and fitness classes, community meetings and events, resource fairs, pop-up events, the neighborhood tech hub, and more. Members who are residents of the east side have access to exclusive services in the Wellness Network. Join today and live well, play well, be well. Visit ecndetroit.org.
Bridge Detroit is your news and engagement platform that is telling the stories of Detroiters rooted by community priorities. Started in 2020 by Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Stephen Henderson, the newsroom has already established its footing as the go-to source for hyperlocal perspectives that ask the hard questions, brings accountability, and searches out real solutions. It's free to become a member of this award-winning news organization. Visit bridgedetroit.com today to sign up to receive the news delivered right to your inbox. Bridge Detroit, by Detroiters, for Detroiters.
Have you always dreamed of being on the airwaves? Well, the Detroit Eastside Engaged Podcast Network, or DEEP for short, is here to make that dream a reality. Located inside the Stoudemire, the DEEP Network offers studio space and production staff to help get your podcast idea off the ground. Doesn't take a whole lot of work to get started. Just visit the Authentically Detroit page at ecn-detroit.org or call Sarah at 313-948-0344.
And we're back with Danielle, Lawrence, and Dara. Danielle, you were telling us about a graduate, your first graduate. Can you go into more detail?
Sure. Talisha Brown is our first graduate. This woman is absolutely amazing. A Black woman who had already achieved her AA. And became an LPN, and she's been a school nurse as her career. She came across our program online, and she decided to give us a try, and this woman started in May and has completed 60 competencies she got 50 done in the May term and then got another 10 done in the October term. And so she's an example of how you can actually accelerate through this program, get it done in a year. She treated it like a job in the summertime while she was off, and she got up every day and put that time. She had to put in about 12 hours a day in order for that to be a possibility. It wasn't like, she was just diddly-daddling around. Took a lot of work, a lot of effort and time, but she killed it, and we're really proud to have our first graduate. So we know this works.
Congratulations. So, Lawrence, can you talk a little bit about how the partnership will work for you?
Yeah, we're excited because we already know that there's a teacher shortage here in Detroit and across the state, across the country. And one of the things that we said from the beginning of this partnership is that if we continue to do the same thing, we'll continue to get the same results. And we don't want to take the same path as everyone else, and we want to start to grow our own. And through that development of growing our own, we said growing our own meant that we were bringing our our paraprofessionals, bringing our teachers' assistants, bringing our non-certified teachers to the table and saying, hey, this is an opportunity for you to not only for us to get creative about our professional development and say they can do this during the time that we're providing professional development for teachers. We can do this in the moment instead of saying professional development here is an isolated thing. They're actually working towards their degree to grow our own and combat this teacher shortage. But at the same time, we said this degree, like Danielle, you were saying earlier, this is the path to economic, social well-being is through learning. And so one of the things that we wanted to do is ensure that we were changing our families one child at a time by thinking about the family atmosphere and said, if we're going to do this for our teachers, we can also do this for our families. And so we think about Grow Your Own is not only about the teachers within our building, but we know that our parents are the first teachers. Yes. So how do we support them and grow them and support them through this program, which it was an ideal when we think about the cost, when we think about the affordability, when we think about access, and we also have computers. So we want our parents to be in the building so they can come in and get a degree at the same time.
Well, I want to talk about costs in a minute, but Dara, you're over talent development, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the things that I know, and actually I worked in charter schools for several years, it's really hard to attract African-American teachers to the workforce in charter schools. A lot of times you're not paying the kind of salaries that allow you to compete with traditional public schools, and there are fewer African-American students entering into the teaching profession. And we know that studies demonstrate that having black teachers helps black students in many ways, just even being culturally knowledgeable. So can you talk about how this would impact your job?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the core tenets of our work at Detroit Academy of Arts and Sciences, we're on a journey to establish ourselves as an anti-racist organization. We're doing ongoing work as an entire district and committing to real diversity, equity, and inclusion and anti-racism in our hiring practices and in our development of staff is something that we're prioritizing, and we're putting that on a pedestal, absolutely. And I would say that I think partnering with Degree Forward and making sure that we're paving the way for equitable access to those prerequisites to even becoming a teacher, making that accessible for anyone who wants to become a teacher. You know, if you are passionate about loving kids, you have a growth mindset, you are not afraid of hard work, you might be a teacher, right? I mean, Orlando, you said earlier, you were talking about this teacher who changed your life, who had an incredible, profound impact on you. I mean, when we talk with our teachers about why they are teachers, 99% of them, it's because of a teacher who had a profound impact on their life that inspired them to become a teacher.
And as you know, when Orlando talked about his teacher was a Jewish teacher. I went to Detroit Public Schools through fourth grade, and in fifth grade, I went to Catholic schools. I never had a black teacher after fourth grade. And I never felt like my teachers even saw me, much less loved me. So I don't have those stories, right? I have very different stories, and I can speak of the trauma, but I won't. So I think this is really important when you start talking about building those narratives. My favorite teacher ever was Miss Griffey in second grade, and she made a profound impact on my life.
Is that Michael Griffey's
his stepmother? That's right. It's Michael Griffey's stepmother. That's the best thing about him was his stepmom. She was an outstanding teacher. She was an absolutely outstanding teacher who made a big difference in my life. You want to talk about somebody who implanted in me a pride of my heritage and understanding of so many things. It was Judith Griffey.
Yeah, I want to ask this question. Can I ask a follow-up?
Sure, and then I wanted Lawrence to jump in and talk about really, you didn't talk about the core of why, like your parents and family. Can
Danielle
you
know how to moderate
I'm sorry,
an interview.
listen.
This is your interview. Go ahead, Lawrence.
Talk about why your parents really fit into the question that Donna had.
That's
Please
what I was trying to connect to. Absolutely. So, you know, connecting to like having families and teachers that look like the children that we serve, that is another reason why we decided like we really want to make sure that we're investing in our parents, because we're actually going out and seeking people who look like our children. We serve 99% African American children. And so why not talk to their parents? because they're the first teacher.
Yep.
They're the best teacher. So we're actually making sure that they have that degree
Yes.
that we talked about earlier.
Yes.
We make sure that they have the degree and they also have access to certification. So
That's
that
right,
we're
Lawrence.
actually combating that in the moment.
That's right.
We actually tap parents on the phone calls. We tap parents on the playground when they're picking up, just to see if they want to join the program.
When you talk about parents and the way that you do and investing in parents, I just want to get up and give you a standing ovation.
Yes.
So many people disrespect our parents. So many people look at Black parents as being deficient. And then they start parent universities, but this is actually a university for
Yeah.
parents, right?
Yeah.
You can actually get an actual degree, not a certificate that is in a little plastic frame. And I'm excited about that.
And they really believe in what they're doing. And if you guys know anything about me, I'm not out here just saying, oh, I'm doing something just to be doing it. I have a whole lot of other things I can be doing. And if I don't really and if I don't really believe in this in my heart, I wouldn't even waste my time. And Lawrence and Dara, I'm talking about, they cry every time somebody fills out a form. Dara's like literally crying like, oh my God, somebody else filled out a form. We did a soft launch and we have over 12 staff members and families. I said, what did you guys
12?
do?
I thought it was 11.
No, it's
I'm
12
gonna
because
break out
another one.
and choose again right here.
She's counting because
I'm
someone else
counting.
came through afterwards after we last spoke.
I'm so excited.
And so like literally counting every time when we talk, they're like, every time someone fills out the form, we're impacting lives, we're making a difference. And they held an event to do a soft launch for their community hub. And just the way with which they speak to their parents with respect, like you said, and how they care about them. They had a session where I was all in, teaching us how to breathe. We just sat there and they had a woman teaching the parents how to breathe. Do you know how much a parent, I'm currently raising 3 kids, how much we need to just breathe? I'm like, I need to be right in the thick of this exercise.
Unclench that jaw.
You know, and
Relax
just
your
release.
shoulders.
And coupled
Yeah.
with me being there, it wasn't just this generic fare like, oh, we're bringing in these services. It was real, tangible opportunities to uplift their families.
Let me ask you about costs. How much does it cost, and what kind of aid is available to these folks who are interested?
Sure. So the program is $7,000 a year, not a penny or a cent more. That means it's
$7,000.
That means it's $2,332.33 per term. You can do 3 terms in a year. That's how you get $7,000 for a year. If you are fully Pell eligible, your remaining balance for the entire year across those 3 terms is only going to be $168. So that's attainable. That's achievable. We do have roughly 45 to 50% of our students who are on payment plans who actually pay out of pocket because they're making that investment. And then if you wanted to take out loans, you can also do that. But here you are with a much less disparity in terms of how much you're going to owe in student loans.
Now, so many people, so many people are not Pell eligible, not because of income, but because they've
exhausted,
or just because they were declared because they didn't make satisfactory progress. And there's a way to restore eligibility. Do you work on that?
We provide wraparound support all the way down to if you have a question about filling out the application or a form. My senior recruitment manager sits with our students to go through the entire FAFSA, like they schedule appointments as grown adult people. Because guess what? If you need help, you need help. Part of the barriers are people saying, man, I don't feel like sitting down and filling out FAFSA. I don't even remember my pen. I don't remember how to do any of this. So we walk you through all of that.
But again, when I was at Youth Development Commission, we worked with a lot of students who were no longer eligible for any kind of support because they had unsatisfactory progress or whatever they call it in a prior enrollment. And so there's letters that you can write and ways that you can document reasons to restore eligibility. Has that been something you've been working with in addition to just filling out the forms?
Yes, because we've had students who have either exhausted their financial aid, or we recently had a case where someone had actually changed schools so many times before that made them not necessarily ineligible, but they had to overcome a hurdle and complete some additional documentation. And so we literally our students will, if you listen to any of our programs or anything, our students are crying as well, saying, I can't believe they're helping me this much.
Listen, we got to wrap it up. So I want you to let folks know how they can enroll, become a part of, learn more about this partnership with Degree Forward, especially folks who are interested in getting their degrees, their higher education degrees.
Yeah, sure. I'm actually going to ask you to pull it up directly off of that press release that I showed you, because we have a specific landing page that we've dedicated to folks who want to enroll in this aspect of the program. They're not going to go directly to our website, but they'll go to Hit Us Orlando.
Okay.
Oh, she got it.
I got it.
Go,
it's degreeforward.org/teacher-pathway.
Yeah. Love it.
Once again, visit degreeforward.org/teacher-pathway. Is there a number that people can call for folks who ain't internet savvy?
This is all through, you got to go through the website and
go
complete
through the website
form.
or show up at DAAS. Can they show up?
Yes.
Show up at DAAS. Over on Jefferson. Y'all know where DAAS is.
2985 East Jefferson.
2985 East Jefferson, and they'll get you set up and squared away.
I love the partnership model for Degree Forward, because Degree Forward is also partnering with the Stoudemire.
Yes,
so
we are.
Danielle came back home to ECN, and we are working to provide resources.
Did I ever leave?
Do we let people leave?
No. Unless actually, and Maggie don't like you.
Shout out to Maggie DeSantis.
I left for about 20 years before I came back. That's true. But that's another story.
Insider. But no, I appreciate two of our pillars. One is authentic community engagement, and another is strategic community-based partnerships. And we partner with people who have the same rigor and drive and mission that we have. With the Marlowe Stoudemire Hub, it's around wellness, education being a wellness initiative for the community. Yep. Over here, it's about bringing in more teachers into their school. But in both instances, the reason this works is because I'm not the only driving force. You have willing partners who are saying, we got to do this together. And that's what I really love about this. You guys haven't missed a beat. And I love when people match my energy.
All right. Danielle, Lawrence, Dara, thank you guys so much for coming on Authentically Detroit.
Thank you for having
us. Such an honor
us.
to have y'all. Listen, if you have topics, if you got something you need to pitch us that our listeners need to hear, hit us up on our socials at Authentically Detroit on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, or you can email us at authenticallydetroit@gmail.com. It's time for shout-outs. Donna, do you have any shout-outs?
I do. Let me shout out the ECN staff. I'm really proud of us. On Wednesday, I think it's Wednesday, we are doing a resource giveaway where we're giving away LED bulbs. We're giving away hand sanitizer and let me see. What do they call them? I'm sorry.
Them kits.
The kits.
Yeah.
You know, the kits.
Toiletry kits.
Toiletry kits. We'll say toiletry kits to people in the community. And so it's going to be a really big resource distribution prior to, on Friday, the Winter Wonderland event, which is going to be an event in our offices where we're going to, it's a pre-Kwanzaa event. We're looking at Kwanzaa in action. We're going to educate people about Kwanzaa. And it's also an opportunity for people to join the LEAP Coalition, which is our coalition of community leaders working together for positive change on the east side of Detroit. And we're having elections for LEAP. It's going to be dinner, family activities. We're going to have pictures with Santa, all the great stuff. And then on Saturday, we have the East Side Summit. And the East Side Summit is going to be a full day of educational activities, starting with a morning panel with a bunch of elected officials. We have a lot of practitioners in sustainability. And our focus this year is the 9 dimensions of wellness. So I encourage you to check us out. It's going to be just a bunch of information that will help people who are trying to help promote community wellness and or themselves be well.
All right. Danielle, you got any shout outs? Anybody else? Laura, Dara, shout out. Lawrence, Dara, shout outs.
I definitely have a shout out to Rochelle Robinson of Detroit Academy of Arts and Sciences. She was voted Michigan Charter Hero of the Year. So we're excited about that. And we're excited because she's leading an initiative for families at DAAS to be adopted. So we're adopting 53 families, their parents, the children, and they get everything on their wish and their want list.
On their holiday wish list.
Yes, on their holiday list. So shout out to Rochelle Robinson and the DAAS family.
All right, Dara, any shout outs?
I mean, how can I not shout out our entire DAAS community, our hardworking staff, our teachers, our education service professionals. I mean, everyone is working so hard. This has been an unbelievable year, a challenging year, an exciting year, getting back into the building in what sort of starting to feel like normal. And I mean, we have an amazing team that's just working so hard. And so definitely have to shout them out.
Cool. Danielle, you have the last word.
Sure. A professional shout out to the Degree Forward team, who this work would not be possible without. They believe in the mission and the vision, and they give their all, their absolute all, every single day to the students who deserve this offering an opportunity. And a quick personal shout out to my sons, who are just really killing it. I'm proud of them. They've been resilient. They've been through not the real serious things you think about that a lot of kids have to go through, but I'm proud of them. So a mama moment.
I love it. That's going to do it for this episode of Authentically Detroit. We'll see you same time next week. We thank you so much for listening. We want you to catch the wave.